Hello and welcome to The Last Rites. I don't know why I'm so calm. I've tried to do this 10 times. But thank you for being here on this lovely Friday. For me, hope it's not 3 a.m. Let's talk about a serial killer and see if he was fun or not, I guess. I mean, listen, Hitler painted. He was probably charming at dinner parties sometimes. But this guy, yeah, good guy, bad guy kind of thing, I guess. Was it? I don't know if there's any good. I don't know. He might have been the devil. This is Harold Shipman, ladies and gentlemen. The classic British serial killer. So we're going to go through this article and see what's up. Harold Shipman, Britain's most prolific serial killer, went undetected for years until he met his match, by some sort of yin and yang serial killer, Donny Boatman, who had a dyed blackbeard and who could beat him up and stuff. Who knows? For decades, Harold Shipman was known as the Good Doctor. Why? A GP in the British town of Hyde, which is quite close to here in Manchester, who was always happy to make house calls to visit elderly patients. Of course he was fucking killing them. But I spoiled it a bit, I guess, but he's fucking killing them. But behind the friendly facade of a retiring family man was a monster with a secret. He didn't like pineapple on pizza. I can't even say pineapple. I'm calling it pineapple from now. Okay. Shipman was Britain's most prolific serial killer. Warning, this story contains blah, blah, blah. Targeting mostly older women. MILFs. I get it, Harold. The GP's modus operandi was almost always the same. He'll call on his patient at home to treat a mild ailment, inject her with a deadly dose of morphine, alter a medical note to suggest she had been gravely ill, and then encourage the family to opt out for a cremation over a burial, to incinerate any evidence of his crimes. Oh, I've hurt my knee, you're dead, Gladys. I assume that's just basically how it went. And then, we had to burn her. I didn't burn Bin Laden, but it's just get rid of that body before anyone looks. It's just a guy in a beard, When he was finally caught, he was convicted of 15 murders, but there are rumours he did hundreds. Obviously, it's just difficult to prove over many, many years. By the time he died in prison in January 2004, did he hang himself? Shipman has earned himself a new nickname, the Angel of Death. Angel of Death? I don't know. It should have been like assistant to the Angel of Death. His motive remains... Dr. Death would have been better. Is there a Dr. Death? His motive remains something of an enigma. Whilst most serial killers are driven by the pursuit of sex or money, Shipman seemed to simply enjoy choosing who lived and who died. The greatest mystery of all is why a serial killer as careful as Shipman made a string of errors with his final victim. He's getting old. You do it, or you go to work hungover. Surgeons drop saws in people and leave them in there. You ever been hungover at work and think, fuck that, send the report, and it comes back on the Monday, but you've had a good weekend, who cares? Always quiet and methodical in his violence, Shipman. How do they know he was quiet and methodical? You leave your mum in a hospital with him, she's just got a bad hip today. How do you know he isn't in there screaming at her? Go outside for a walk, Janice. You motherfucker! It might have been loud. The murder of Kathleen Grundy and the trail of evidence that pointed directly to her doctor's involvement left investigators wondering if the Angel of Death wanted to be caught. Doubt it. There was nothing doctors could do but make her feel comfortable. This is his beloved mother. So he watched his mum die of lung cancer when he was 17, as she was given large doses of morphine to keep the pain at bay. He learnt from his mother in a way. It's probably her fault, to be honest. Don't feel sorry for her with cancer. She might have sat there going, Harold, it's my final. I'm about to go of cancer. It hurts. But it'd be funny if you did this to everyone else. It might have been her fault. So arrest her. He married his wife Primrose, and together they had 4 children. When he graduated, he got a job at the Pontefract General Infirmary. See, if your dad's a builder or something, you want him to be a good one, right? You don't really want him to be a bad one. So, is there at some point the kids that just go, my dad was a serial killer? We don't talk about it a lot, but he was a bloody good one. One of the best. In 1972, Shipman was a 26-year-old junior doctor assigned to look after a Susie Garfitt, a 4-year-old child suffering from pneumonia triggered by her quadriplegia and cerebral palsy. The doctor encouraged her to go and have a cup of tea down the cafe while he looked after the child. When she returned 10 minutes later, the child was dead. Yeah, it's a bit difficult for a 4-year-old quadriplegic with cerebral palsy to jump out of a window. Probably didn't jump out of a window. It was the morphine again, wasn't it? It was the morphine, but she couldn't have, bad. That is horrible, that, isn't it? I didn't even know. I thought it was just old women. But he then got addicted to morphine, and then he got discovered this in 1976. He was injecting himself 600 to 700 milligrams of pethidine a day. Sounds like a lot. So much his veins had begun to collapse. But he basically got struck. So he was given counselling and rehab, but not struck off as a doctor. It's like, you, basic heroin addict, carry on being a doctor. Why not? Makes it interesting. He came back, joined the practice in Hyde, and that's where he just stayed there for years, I think. So they'd already had the local killers, Ian Brady and Myra Henley, the Moores murders. Maybe we'll talk about them next time. By the time Shipman moved in, Hyde hoped there'd be nothing left to fear, but they were wrong. Shipman set up a thriving doctor surgery on Market Street, which soon boasted a patient list of nearly 3,000 people. I genuinely thought he was a great doctor, very intelligent. Yeah, he could get away with killing people for 40 years. Former patient Paul Spence told the court, I went to see him with different things, and he always had time to talk. You would expect to be kept waiting, but you accepted it because you knew he would spend time with you. Yeah, he's in there killing 10 grandmothers and an uncle. There was a year-long wait to get onto his list. He was popular. It's like, you know, being on a list to see fucking Phil Collins or something. You're waiting a long time. You know it's going to be a bit of a grinder when you get there. But why did I say grinder? I don't know. Why did I pick on Phil Collins? Seems right. Locals remembered him as an odd, gruff figure. His house was famously spooky, haunted by all the dead uncles. Bits of my house appear and relax. Many patients describe Shipman as having a wonderful bedside manner, especially with the elderly. Well, a wonderful bedside manner? Did he smile while he was killing you? Many people must have survived, right? Was it a small percentage of people that he killed? He had 3,000 patients and he got convicted of 15, but they do think, again, could well be hundreds. In one instance, he administered 12,000 milligrams of the drug to a patient. This is diamorphine hydrochloride, enough to kill 360 people. Why don't you save it and kill 360 people? You're going for the numbers, man. It meant that he could fill out the death certificate and advise the family against asking for a post-mortem. Don't worry. Your husband was fine. Still remembered the war and the things he did in that. Still remembered it. Don't ask any questions, though. He's now immediately dead. And he would have died. If he'd have come back to life 359 times, he would have died again because he had so much of this shit in him. Wonder if it feels good to have 12,000 milligrams of whatever that is. Some of his descriptions of sudden death are breathtaking. For them, he took their breath, literally. Dame Janet wrote in the Shipman Inquiry, I turned round to get my stethoscope out of my bag and she just collapsed and died. I was telephoning for an ambulance and she gave one cough. When I turned around, I could see that she had died. I bent over to pick up some fucking Wotsits off the floor. Ate a couple of these floor Wotsits, turned round, she had died. It's just like, you know what the ending of the script is? There were periods where he stopped for a while, usually because an attempted murder had gone wrong or a nurse who was a stickler for paperwork became suspicious of him. I mean, this is 25 years of it. 97, he seemed to be spiralling out of control. In just 1 year, he committed 37 murders, meaning he killed a patient every... Oh, they charged him with 15. How did they know he committed 37? He killed a patient every 10 or so days. Wow. That's like... You've hit that cocaine wall and you are driving to Oxford at 4 a.m. for that last line, even though you don't need it, or the last 10 grams. Eh? He might have gone killing for years, but in 98 he set his sights on the former mayoress of Hyde. This time he diverged so wildly from his modus operandi and made so many blunders the mask slipped and the monster beneath was finally revealed. What a weird stat. Like 79.5% of Shipman's victims, Grundy was an older woman. Round that up to 80. Come on. And at 81, she was still extremely active in the town. She loved taking part in charity work. She went to a regular GP surgery to have her ears syringed, and he offered to make a house call the next day to see how she was going. So probably wanted wax syringing out of her ears. Did he inject morphine up your nanamide into her ears? 4 hours after he visited Mrs. Grundy, her friends found her dead, sitting fully clothed on the couch. Poor lady. Distraught, they called Shipman back to the house where he declared that his long-time patient must have suffered from a cardiac arrest. Must have been. And anyway, went to see her, had a nice cup of tea, and she died. He phoned the local coroner's office and offered to write out the death certificate stating old age. Is old age or heart attack, man? Keep your story straight. But in choosing Grundy's victim, he put himself on the path of her formidable daughter, Angela Woodruff. Woodruff! Come on, Woodruff! Something about her mother's sudden death didn't sit right. He was a lawyer. I gave all my estate, money and house to my doctor. Apparently wrote down in a will drawn up just weeks before his death. That's right. Didn't they find the typewriter in his fucking house or something? It was written on a typewriter, right? Yes, he left her a estate of $780,000 to a doctor. He had typed it himself on a manual typewriter police found in his surgery. It's like fucking murder, she wrote. Clacking away. Mrs. Woodruff also resisted Shipman's pressure to have her mother's body cremated. I want my mum buried. Can we look into this? One sensible person in 40 fucking years. There was the stickler nurse or whatever, but come on. It's just a health service populated by tards. Just like, oh, all these people are dying. He focused the violence on women, old ladies whose deaths might seem inevitable. Sort of like a shit Thanos, really. But to people who knew and loved the victims, they were much more than that. Of course. I'm not mocking the victims here. By the timing of his death, 2 years before his 60th birthday, he didn't even make 60. Primos were able to claim a tax-free lump sum of more than 200 grand, as well as an annual payout of 20 grand and the National Health Insurance pension scheme. Relatives of his victims got payouts, right? But it's like, I don't know. You'll probably take the money, wouldn't you? But it's a bit like, well, killed my fucking husband. I'll do 200 grand. That's the price of my husband. But, you'd take it, most likely. Death money. Anyway, that's that article. I'm burping. I've got to go and look at some chicken. What do you think? Do you think Harold Shipman was the best serial killer? I think he's, because they're saying 37. I thought he got charged with like 15. But there's talk that it could have been hundreds. It was just over that many decades. Back in the 70s, the paperwork was a bit more lax. The checks and balances just weren't there. I think he could have done a few. America's got Ted Bundy as the best one. I think he's our best one, right? I think so. But not in a good way. It's not the best. It's bad. Everything he's done is bad. In fact, Dr. Shipman goes straight to... I was going to go to bed without your dinner, but really he should probably go to hell, shouldn't he? But... yeah, any doctor killers in the US? What do you reckon? Is he the best one? Do you reckon he was also... because they said he had a nice bedside manner, but also gruff. Was he like just gruff everywhere else, but when he sat on a bed next to an old person, he's like, hey, you want to see some cabaret? I don't know why I chose that to demonstrate cabaret. These always get weird at the end, but this was just weird anyway. All right, go away. Thank you for hanging out with me on a Friday, and I am going to do something. So yeah, drop us a sub if you so wish, and I will. I don't know. I'm thinking about drinking a beer, but I've got a 12-mile hike in the hills of, I think, the Peak District tomorrow. So I better not get drunk tonight. All right, take it easy. See you later. Bye.